Hello and welcome to Media Lit, where we treat each piece of media like great literature. I am your host, Randy Elaine, and joining me as always is the man of constant sorrow, the one and only Kris Ingersoll. Kris, how you doing tonight?
Says you. I'm the goddamn paterfamilias. So good, buddy. So good. Really thrilled to be here doing a classic Media Lit with one of our all-time favorite guests. I always wonder if the podlings, they've read the episode description, I suppose. But there's got to be a handful of, names they run through whenever we say this. We do this little intro. One of our favorite returning guests, a true friend of the pod, like a cousin, a family member of the pod, more so than a friend of the pod. They could probably get it in 3, right? If they had to guess, probably get it in 3. I'm stoked to be here tonight, buddy. How are you?
I'm phenomenal. We got to go back to one of our favorite time periods, the late 90s to early 2000s. So many Media Lit classics, including our recent Dogma episode with tonight's guest. But we're moving up to the year 2000 and a pretty different vibe, wouldn't you say?
Significantly different, though also no less religious, I suppose.
Oh, lots of questions of faith. Those questions abound in tonight's property, Kris. Where are we going?
Tonight, we are thrilled to be talking about 2000's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? We are on the cusp of the Odyssey, and so with Christopher Nolan's gargantuan adaptation in cinemas, we thought we'd go back and revisit this humble little film from the Coen Brothers where they deigned to do something quite similar and yet something entirely different. It's an adaptation of the Odyssey with an absolute twist on it, an Americana twist to boot. And with us to discuss is the legendary, the father of the popbreak.com, and one of the best men I know, Bill Bodkin. Welcome back to Media Lit.
I'm bona fide. Some would say I'm a suitor, and always fighting.
He's a suitor.
Fighting for the little man, and skilled in the metallurgic arts. And
quite the resume.
And I am a Dapper Dan man. God damn it.
The quaff would suggest as much, sir.
We'll get to that. Don't worry. We'll get to that.
And you must smell lovely.
I don't know. It's hot up here, man. We're not great. Doing okay. It's been a long day.
Yeah, I've got a lot to learn from both of you about finding a quality hair jelly.
Oh,
for
don't
sure.
worry. Don't worry.
We'll have the deep talks tonight, but before we can get deep, we gotta get brief. Randy, can you hit us with your signature brief synopsis?
Here is my quick rundown of the plot of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? When pseudo-intellectual blatherskite Ulysses Everett McGill convinces his chain gang partners, Pete and Delmar, to go on the run in search of buried treasure, the trio find themselves lost in a darkly whimsical pastiche of Depression-era Mississippi, punctuated by a rich and diverse folk soundtrack that never lets us forget the complex humanity at the core of our colorful protagonists and the larger-than-life caricatures who weave in and out of their epic odyssey.
Not bad.
And those are the vibes.
It's very good. I don't know, man. I went into something of a fog, a different realm. When you said blatherskite, I left my body a little bit.
Well, did anyone go to Duckburg? Because that's exactly where I went to.
Gizmo Duck, man.
Blatherskites.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I felt like I needed to find a unique, more archaic term to best capture the vibe that one Ulysses Everett McGill brings to this film. And yeah, he is a boastful man. He is an intellectual man. A lot of what he says makes sense. But he's also always talking to buy some time, just like the great tactician himself.
Unbelievable. Very well done. Well, with that, now we can get deep. But before we go into the literature of it all, we've got to talk about our own personal connections. This thing goes back to 2000, so I'm curious to hear from you guys. What's your personal history with this film and with the Coen Brothers in general? We'll start with our honored guest, Bill Bodkin.
Oh, guys, Coen Brothers and we have a very tight relationship here. The Big Lebowski, if you go to my Letterboxd, top 4 film of all time. Absolutely. It speaks to everything I love. And Coen Brothers really are within the kind of directorial like cavalcade that I really enjoy. Directors who really take their time and are very meticulous in their production design, are very particular with their musical choices. Well, the thing about the Coen brothers are really what they do with their films is they also are very geographic with all their films.
Mhm.
Like they go to a place and it's like they get everything. Inside Llewyn Davis is in New York, in that Bob Dylan-esque era, and they capture everything. You could smell the cigarettes. You can feel the heat coming off of the sewer grates. You know, you're in the South. You feel the humidity in this film. In Fargo, you feel the cold, and
Mhm.
you get the Minnesota nice of it all. Same with Lebowski with the laconic California like a vibe that's going on. They get it, and they know how to create a soundtrack around it. They know how to create their shots around it. They take their inspirations and place them correctly everywhere. Even if you watch No Country for Old Men, just the
Yeah.
barren sparseness of the American Southwest. It's nuts. And so this is an all-time favorite of mine as well. It has been a minute since I have watched it, but it is also something that this film is. I didn't realize how much I quote it and how much it is in my life every day. Anytime I buy my hair jelly, which was inspired literally by this movie when a friend of
Yes.
mine started his own pomade company, doesn't do it anymore. I was like, oh, I'm gonna George Clooney the shit out of this, and I'm going to buy it. And I did, and I've been a pomade guy ever since. And every time I get it, my wife's
Yes.
like, "I got your fop," and I'm like, "Oh, damn, man, god damn it."
Them's
Uh,
fighting words.
That's amazing.
Whew.
guy, every once in a while, this place is a goddamn geographical anomaly. That comes out a lot.
Mhm.
The name Pappy O'Daniel sometimes will just pop into my head. I think it's when I do my Buck Cashman, Benoit Blanc impersonation. I always think
Mhm.
like, "Happy O'Dandy, you some bitch." Like, some bitch is also a great one. Um, I sometimes will lean into the Homer Stokes impersonation. He's like, "Oh, certain secret society. I don't think I need to, say the name." But like I'll lean into it without the accent. It's like a
Oh,
certain,
yeah.
I don't need to say the name. And not talking about the clan, just like anything. Um, Paterfamilias, anytime I hear bona fide, I immediately say he's a
Yep.
suitor.
Mhm.
And I don't think people realize the soundtrack to this film is revolutionary.
Mhm.
Uh, at the time, bluegrass music was just like, "Hey, are you a very erudite, like, no offense, guys, New England Bill Blass wearing, Subaru driving college professor, that you teach American studies or some sort of humanities at a very niche college?" They listened to bluegrass, right? Or it was very indigenous to rural areas that people made fun of, right? This changed the game. I remember I worked at a Barnes& and Noble from 2000, 2004. This played nonstop. Alison Krauss, a huge part of this, and she blew up, and then you've seen throughout the years as someone who is, um, kind of fallen into the nebulous world of jam bands, as I opened my third eye and stepped into that ether. Bluegrass is such a huge part of it and has such an influence over at Bluegrass Fest all over the place. Billy Strings, huge artist, playing essentially bluegrass, headlining arenas. Like, that's how impactful this was. It was always around, but this really opened the
Mhm.
floodgates, pun intended. And for George
Nice.
Clooney, I don't think people realize, like, George Clooney's post-ER career was not great in movies. This was the big one. This was his first collab with the Coens, and then after this would be Ocean's 11. Then he's off to the races as George Clooney. And for you guys who probably don't know this, George Clooney, a hero of mine. Why is George Clooney a hero of mine? Because when ER came out, his gray hair
Ah,
was cool. And when I was
nice.
14 years old, I started going gray. And I had George Clooney to default to, be like, "Wow, George Clooney had great hair." And it was always, I was like, well, okay, he had it. Yeah, so that works. I also got, when Taylor Hicks won American Idol, did you dye your hair gray because of Taylor Hicks? Someone asked me that, and I responded, and you could edit this swearing out. I said, are you out of your fucking mind? Why would I do that? Do I look like I'm a Taylor Hicks groupie? I've seen him live, not intentionally. Very talented, but I did not dye my hair because of Taylor Hicks.
Who would do that? Did any one single human being on the planet find such
no,
fandom
there's
for
some.
Taylor Hicks? They dyed
Okay,
their hair.
so we have.
gray.
So when you said one single human, I said there has to be at least one, right?
Sure.
The Soul Patrol was big apparently. So yeah, so Clooney was a huge inspiration for me, and also my gray hair was like my call during my single days when I was way heavier. That was always, at least I had that going for me. My hair was cool. So yeah, this is, you're checking a lot of boxes for me on this
Beautiful.
one for sure. And my in-laws, they quote this movie all the time as well. That and Burn After Reading,
Nice.
Man.
which Everett Everett and our hero, including Burn After Reading, very similar characters.
Sure.
You always feel like the right man for the job, really, no matter what we're talking about. But tonight, especially, Bud, I'm thrilled you have such a legit connection to this film that it has such a regular presence in your life. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
sure. I'm waiting for, what do you to say? Watch your mouth there, young fellow. This is place of business.
I wish I felt that proper, but you could say whatever you want here on our podcast, buddy. Mr. Randy Elaine, what is your relationship to this film and to the Coen Brothers?
Yeah, well, I mean, not to sound like a broken record, but if you've heard the podcast before, you know that myself, like many young college men, had that moment where I decided I wanted to get into movies. So I can trace so many of my favorite movies back to that time where I had the time and the developing intellect and the interest and desire to take movies so seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, so therefore, the Coens were already a thing before I was really developing those skills. And it started for me in a class called Metaphor and Creativity with one Bob Dow, Professor Emeritus at UMass Amherst. To this day, favorite teacher I've ever had anywhere. We read all sorts of great literature, but he also paired the curriculum with really great films and really in-depth film discussions. And we did a double feature of Miller's Crossing and Barton Fink, which is the film the Coen brothers wrote while they had writer's block in the middle of writing Miller's Crossing, essentially. And to watch those performances come to life, to start to see the cast of actors who would repeat again and again within this world across their properties with all of these very different vibes. And then to go back and really see what different work they could do. I mean, like all the stuff really that Bill already mentioned, to go from Fargo to No Country for Old Men, but those different vibes. Jump back to Raising Arizona, and you get this off the wall zaniness. And I think just seeing the fact that they could do it all, but do it with this sense of intellect, was so huge. And I don't know that I had ever really watched a movie like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou that celebrated this bluegrass music, this blues music. Kris and I are both hosts on the show Podelay, and I was thinking about our guy Beck Hansen and his love for the Delta blues is represented in here alongside these other stylings. And yeah, I think this is just part of the rich tapestry of what made these guys such special creators who remain amongst my favorite filmmakers to this day.
Absolutely love that for you. Not surprised. There's such an intellectual approach to these filmmakers. Yeah, love what you both had to say about these guys and their work. For me, it's less deliberate than that. I think I've never sought out to like beef up on my Coen Brothers films or even like categorized Coen Brothers films in my head that I've enjoyed until I was preparing for this exercise. And then it became about, oh yeah, that one too. Oh my gosh, and that one. So like earlier this year, maybe it was late last year, it must have been late last year, I watched A Serious Man for the first time. Their joint from 2009. Bill, the way you're describing the way they put you in
Mm.
the place, right? If
Mhm.
that's where the film was set, that's where you are. You are sitting Shiva. You're in these rich Jewish, personal Jewish community moments in this film. You can like smell the rooms that you're existing. You can imagine what each bite of food
Yeah.
tastes like because it's so authentically, so richly created, and so like almost like in a blasé way. Like A Serious Man, especially, is just like
Very much so.
just very much
Mhm.
a day in the life, but it's so textural that it's
Yeah.
captivating, right?
Yeah.
But then they also made Bad Santa, and The Big Lebowski and
Yeah.
No Country. So the fact that No Country, Lebowski, and Bad Santa all come from the same filmmakers is such a compliment to what they can do together, and the various ways in which they can, like, we all have facets, right? And it feels as though they can like really focus the beam of light through one of the facets of their personality or just one facet of how they see the world to create these unique and yet equally immersive cinematic experiences. So like I I absolutely love Lebowski. And Oh Brother
Yeah.
Where Art Thou
Oh,
was a film I didn't know how to even experience the first time I saw it.
Mhm.
I saw I saw Oh Brother Where Art Thou in theaters in the year 2000 for some weird reason. It was like a bunch of middle school friends. I was 12 at the time.
oh,
Like a weird mix of friends. I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
sitting next to a kid named
Mhm.
Scott Mealy. Shout out Scott. He's not somebody I hung out with regularly or maybe even ever again after this outside of a party setting. But for some reason, a group of folks, like we had gone to the cinema and I think we chose what we were going to see when we got there.
Yeah.
And we were
This I
all,
want to say was a Christmas time release. I think that makes sense too because it's like, hey, it's Christmas time. We're off from school. What are we gonna watch? Yeah.
yeah, maybe that sounds right. I just remember sitting in like, not the front row, but we're sitting so close to the screen because again, I don't think we had planned for this, but we laughed so hard through this film. And I think probably because we had no context for the Coen brothers yet at
Mhm.
12 years old or what to expect from a really thoughtful film like this. It was comedy in a way that I hadn't really ever been fed before,
Yeah.
right? Like, by 12, I was already watching Kevin Smith, and that was comedy I was familiar with, and I was
Yeah.
familiar with, like, sitcom-style comedy, but smart, subtle, contextual comedy like this was new to me, and when George Clooney opened his mouth to lip sync at that mic,
Yeah.
for some reason, that bowled me over. I
Mhm.
remember the stomach aching, cheek aching giggles that I had
Yeah.
throughout that whole sequence, and then again throughout the film. Eh, Delmar desperately trying to communicate that they believe Pete was a toad.
Yeah.
I
It's-
I
Well, of
I didn't know
course
what to
it's
do
Pete.
with this.
Look at him.
Yeah, of course it is. Look at him. Un
Sometimes I will do that to my wife across the room. Like if it's like
Hilarious.
at a party. No, I'll be like, she'll look at me, I'll be like, "Do not speak of treasure." And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, who is it?" And she gets it, and she's like, "Oh, God." She appreciates it at least.
Oh, that is so good. So yeah, that's how I remember really experiencing this film at the time,
Oh,
and I've loved it ever since. I don't get to rewatch it all the time, but every time I've sat down for it, it's a blasty blast. And it's the kind of film that you're excited to show somebody who hasn't seen it themselves.
oh, yeah.
Especially because to your point, Bill, what it means for George Clooney, like you take for granted today, the movie star that is George Clooney.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Before this, it was like a poor outing as Batman, an attempt to be a blockbuster guy. Um,
Yeah. It
you
was
know,
really, I mean, like, The Peacemaker. That was
oh yeah.
one fine day. They're like, "Let's put him in a rom-com." Oof. Don't if you wanna torture me, that's a movie to put on right there.
Whoa, do not speak ill of One Fine Day, Bill
Oh,
Bodkin.
brother,
Huge fan.
I
Huge
will
fan.
roll up these jersey sleeves and throw down about how much I hate that movie. My wife loves it, you could talk to her about it, but not me. Just avoid me on that one.
We're doing it on the pod because I don't have I'm a neutral
Oh,
party, and
no,
I will rewatch it,
brother,
and then we can have a debate.
I just had to watch, Madam Web, Morbius, and Craven, so I need like a respite from bad movies in my life,
Now,
so
Chris, you do remember who plays George Clooney's daughter in that film, yes?
No.
oh, no, I don't even
None other than Mae Whitman.
Oh, wow.
That's
Okay.
right.
Again,
That's
what was I,
right.
9?
Amity
was 12.
Blight, Katara, come on.
Yeah, no, that's strong casting. That is very, very strong casting. But not I can, like I remember what does he wear, like, a long coat? Can't picture him in a
He's a
car coat in this
journalist.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife made
But
me
that's what I
rewatch
like
the
that.
whole film not long ago, and I regretted
Uh,
every second of it.
No, you're a lucky man, Bill.
Uh,
I mean, yes.
the last thing I'll say about my Coen Brothers love or this film specifically is just, like, I love John Turturro, and his
Yes.
presence in their filmography is just such a gift. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Barton Fink is my blind spot with the Coen brothers. It's like Barton Fink, Blood Simple. Like, I don't care that I didn't see like Lady Killers and Intolerable Cruelty, but those two are like the ones I like kick myself I haven't seen.
Yep. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's an experience. And it's a vibe, and it's existential depression and or horror at times, but
Well, I
love
haven't
that weird
seen
movie.
the Jesus Rolls, and from what I can see here, it's on Tubi, so that might be going on the watch list for.
Well, there we
Oh,
go.
don't watch the Jesus movie.
Oh,
No,
the Jesus
buddy.
bowling movie? No.
Oh, buddy, I'm telling you, it is not good. I watched about 20 minutes of it, and I was like, I gotta stop. This is bad. This was not written by the Coen brothers. This is just whoo. They took an idea and ran with it the wrong way.
I'm looking at my guy JT licking a bowling ball in purple, and I'm intrigued.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
It doesn't bode well that it is on Tubi. Roger Ebert 1.5.
Wow.
Okay, moving on.
Whew.
I'm just
Well-
as a friend, I gotta tell you, I'll be like my friend, my brother. Just don't do it to yourself.
I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for that tip, Bill. But listen, Kris already hinted up top. Part of the reason we're looking at this film right now, at this particular moment, is in anticipation of Christopher Nolan's adaptation of the Odyssey. Kris and I have expressed some skepticism about this film, but we're also both huge Nolan fans. I will certainly be in theaters to see it and experience it. And I know it's going to be a rewarding experience for me, whether I love it, whether I hate it, whether I have beefs with the film, or I'm pleasantly surprised that Christopher Nolan has anticipated all of my concerns. I'm prepared for anything, but this is the best, full-length feature film, prestige retelling of the Odyssey, or I should say adaptation. Even the Coens would admit this is a pretty loose adaptation of the story itself, but it offers a real rich thematic backbone. So I am wondering what experience you guys have with the Odyssey itself, the epic poem. And then for you, based on that relationship, how well does this film function as a retelling of that story? So Bill Bodkin, take me back to high school or college or
Grade
maybe
school, man.
last weekend.
Let's go back to Edison, New Jersey, St. Helena's Catholic School. I had my atomic urine yellow dress shirt, my plaid tie, and my cardboard green pants that ripped at any time.
Nice.
Not just me, everybody. I remember reading it. We read a lot of Greek mythology, and it was something I share in common with my co-host on Socially Distanced, Pop Break's flagship podcast, Amanda Rebus. Both were big Greek mythology nerds. And so around the mid 90s, I don't know if you know, guys, remember this or not, but NBC aired a miniseries of the Odyssey. And I'm going to tell you, you're gonna get a real kick out of who they got in here, with Armand Assante as Odysseus, Christopher Lee as Tiresias, Bernadette,
Tiresias, I think.
great, Bernadette Peters as Circe, Isabella Rossellini as Athena, Vanessa Williams as Penelope, and Eric by God Roberts as Eurymachus. This was a blockbuster television event that I 100% recorded on a VHS tape. It was an event, all right. It wasn't great, but I thought, like, the acting. Listen, I didn't really, outside of Isabella Rossellini, I didn't give you a murderer's row of what we're getting in Nolan's film. But effects wise, for the mid to late 90s, and the epic scope of it, I think was super impressive. And I remember loving it. I loved Hercules. I loved films like Jason and the Argonauts, Clash of the Titans, and then reading the books on that. They would just had these Greek mythology books that we had to read, and I loved every second of it. I love the Odyssey. I love this journey, and I love stories like this. I love these kind of, and I know people will criticize this adaptation a little bit of for being very episodic, where it's just like here's these different these different pieces we're going to. Now we have the Cyclops and we have the sirens. We have this, but I like that, and I love big
Yeah.
sweeping. It's kind of also kind of transcended my film love of big ensemble pieces, and that's something the Coen brothers tie back into this do very well. And I think when you first watch this film, you're like, this is just a great road film. But
Yeah.
then when you're hit with the fact of, oh, hey, this was inspired by the Odyssey, then you look at Big Dan, you look
Sure.
at the women by the river, and all these other characters. Like, oh God, it is perfect. It's so well done. And again, the Coens take this classic story and immerse it and soak it and let it marinate in this world of post World War One Depression era free electric grid Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect.
So glad to hear how much you love that, Bill. Yeah, and just there is an atmosphere and an epic feeling to that story that I think is absolutely communicated here, even if it's a totally different world, even if we can point out some differences in our heroes. But Chris Ingersoll, I'm curious to hear what kind of relationship you have with the text, and then this film is an adaptation.
So my exposure to the text is singular,
Hmm.
and many years ago. So like the most surface level had to, in school exposure
Yeah.
to the study. So I don't have real like visceral memories of the text of how the characters are made manifest in the text, but all the things that come with it are very present in my cultural mind's eye, right? Because they're so present in both pop culture and other literature. So just earlier this year, I enjoyed season 2 of Percy Jackson on Disney Plus.
Percy Jackson is hot mom. Let's go.
Of
Sorry,
course.
I was gotta say it.
And of course, there's lots of conversation about Odysseus here. We get exposure to the sirens in season 2, and it's a wonderful way of playing in that world. And so I love Greek mythology. My daughter just got a great book for her birthday recently. That's like an introduction, a cursory overview of your various gods and goddesses and some of the more iconic tales. These
Nice.
stories,
Nice.
yes, I'm really thrilled to dig in. We've already done like Athena and a handful of others, but yeah, I love the very archetypal nature of these types of stories, right? Um, Seeking to identify the human condition in both like really superficial and nuanced, deep ways, right? Like playing with the superficial, with the tropes and the stereotypes in order to uncover things that are more interesting and layered underneath. I love the fickle gods and the humans who are caught in between. And so this film, as like a loose adaptation of that type of story, works tremendously well for me. So it's hard for me to say like how many of the story beats align very well with the epic poem because I don't have a huge textural familiarity. But big things like the sirens made manifest in our Singing Women by the River, those ridiculously haunting and alluring harmonies that they strike, in the idea of what this like ethereal type of force would have on the weak
Mhm.
mortal soul of a man. Like that's such good Greek mythology stuff, and it's executed so beautifully in this film. As you
Yeah.
said, Bill, Big Dan Teagues, our Cyclops here. I do
How'd you
know.
do that, Big Dan?
Oh, George Clooney's so baffled by
Yeah,
him under the
it's like
tree.
not even yelling. He's like, "What'd you do that for?"
Delmar has taken it at that point. He has been
Delmar.
abused. It is
Yeah.
far beyond any curiosity at this point. Ulysses, you're under attack. Get with the program.
Yeah, we got to work on that fight or flight response for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was,
Well, his fighting isn't great.
he was eating a good meal, and he had just recently been wooed by the first civil conversation he'd had in a long time, right? Civilized conversation in a long time. So He wasn't at his best. But that Cyclops character feels so insurmountable, right? He feels like this
Yeah.
just incredible behemoth of a being. And our heroes are in real trouble when they're his clutches. So it ends much more quickly. All of these things end much more quickly for our crew than I
Sure.
recall them doing so for Odysseus. But I think that this film in general, as I said before, like really does a nice job of capturing the exploration of human condition, muddling it with questions of faith and otherworldly forces. How much of it is those things manipulating us, and how much of it is it us making our own mistakes because of either fear or disregard of those forces? So yeah, great film.
Yeah.
I wish I could. Yeah, go on.
No, I mean, I think you both covered it incredibly well. Um, I think about my first exposure to this book in high school. I was a freshman in high school, and fresh off a summer of reading the Lord of the Rings trilogy for the first time.
There he goes.
A story I've discussed many a time on this podcast. This long road trip that was the thing that pushed me through the first 100 pages. That did not pull me in as a middle schooler. But no, I fell in love with those books. I fell in love with this epic story, and I love Lord of the Rings. And you've got these larger than life heroes. They're packed with wisdom, this eternal goodness through and through. And you have epic adventure in the Odyssey, but I think what was really compelling to me is you don't have perfect heroes in the Odyssey. You have deeply flawed gods. You have deeply flawed people. Um, and, like, kinda starting to awaken to the fact that that is really compelling and interesting storytelling to see someone, kind of at their worst and still trying to see the humanity in that person, seeing that person go on an arc and change, like, the Odyssey awakened that for me. You can interact with the epic adventure. I remember mapping out Odysseus's journey for a school project. I would later
Oh,
assign
would have loved that.
the same project when I was teaching the Odyssey as a ninth grade teacher later on. But Chris, we recently talked about, again, I've mentioned this a couple times. We've got a little hesitation, a little skepticism about this new Odyssey. And the big thing for me in the Nolan version, just in the trailer, which I'm assuming we'll get some more nuance, is Odysseus is really just presented as this great hero and tactician, and there's not much of a hint of those flaws in the trailer. Again, we might get there in the movie. And while we can't go beat for beat through the entire Odyssey, the things about that character that mean the most to me are so fully on display here. Um, Ulysses Everett McGill is a schemer. He is a fast talker. He can think on his toes, sometimes more successfully than others. He has some insights into the human condition. Um, but like his hubris, his need to be at the center of the world, the fact that he is willing to lie to these two men he barely knows, Pete being 2 weeks away from completing his sentence, and now he's got 50 years tacked on. Those consequences mean so little to, Everett early in the story. That kind of hubris and pride stands out to me. One detail that struck me on this watch was just, the fact that, like, their sort of ultimate near undoing here is that Everett's really easy to track because he's a Dapper Dan man, because of that unique scent of his pomade, his chosen hair treatment. The bloodhounds track him down. They find his hairnet. Like, these sort of symbols of his vanity are his undoing, and the fact that that's true of Odysseus as well.
Yeah.
He has to stick it to Polyphemus after he tricks him at the end and let him know exactly who it was that tricked him. He's got to leave his mark, and that comes back to haunt him throughout the entire story. I think about that first prophecy we get on the rail car. Very much like Tiresias, the blind prophet who Odysseus visits in the underworld, who kind of outlines the quest for him, these trials and tribulations he'll follow, but most importantly, the penance he's going to have to do, the voyage he's going to take after the voyage after he gets home to make a proper sacrifice to earn his forgiveness from the gods. And we see, I think of that moment, when Everett kinda comments like, "Oh, you guys don't know how far this cabin is," like, and the movie doesn't have time to really make us feel the length of that journey. But yeah, he has that moment. He has to experience this moment of faith, which he'll try to back off from a little bit for sure. Um, but he has to like show a selflessness and believe it's all going to be over for him. So the fact that he's got that pride, he goes on the ark and he has to redeem himself in the eyes of his wife and in the eyes of whatever spirituality or God is at the center of the story. The fact that that stuff is there probably means the most to me. So I'm a fan of this as an adaptation.
Beautifully, beautifully explained. Thank you, teacher Randy. That was great. Um, yeah, I was looking to see if they had kind of sort of split the heroics between the trio, right? Because they did choose to give us a core trio rather than a core hero, but it lives very, very clearly with Ulysses. I mean, it's in the name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also what I think why I like this one so much is because like our monsters, right? Like
Yeah.
let's go to back to Big Dan. Like we put him in like they find the role that a monster like a huge personality would have, right? A Bible salesman, and also how predatory that was about how much money is in the world, the good book. You know what I mean? And he was a predatory guy, and they built. He didn't have to be a giant, but his personality was gigantic, and all these foes they put the clan in, and they have other people and other things that are in there that are in their way that are just so of the time and and people that are so flawed, like you were saying, like his wife lies and says he's dead, and because she's pissed at him, right? Listen,
Hmm.
Pappy O'Daniel, he's a real son bitch, right? He can't be the reform party because he's the incumbent. The first time I ever heard that word and understood what it meant was incumbent.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything about this, it's just like they take and they make it so tangible for us to understand it. Because when you look at an Odyssey, it's like, oh, here's these larger than life monsters and creatures and mythological beasts and gods and everything. This steeps everything and that literally old timiness that we were read in our history books.
Mhm.
And I think that's what makes it so much more powerful for us. Also, I will disagree with you on the Nolan trailer. I totally see that, and maybe it's my magnet for inherent Catholic guilt, but Matt Damon, right there, I see it. I see it. He's just
Good.
like, I have fucked up. My vanity has led me to this, and we are screwed. And I get that. Again, this is probably me projecting, but
Well, no,
We can only
I
hope.
mean,
We
no,
certainly
trust
hope.
me. Wait, trust me. I'm not a vain person, but I'm just saying
listen,
I got that from that trailer. So I'm going to disagree because I do feel that,
I
and I
do
really
have.
hope Bernthal goes like, like he doesn't punish her, and then Hatebreed comes on in the background, and then it's like this movie's like
But
should win every Oscar at that
Yeah.
point.
well, Bill, we do have some reason to hope, not only because Christopher Nolan is Christopher Nolan, but he did give an interview, and he was suggesting that this siren sequence is really going to be like a full psychoanalysis of
Mhm.
Odysseus. So if he delivers on that, I'm really excited to see that play out.
If Stellan Skarsgård doesn't make a cameo in this, what are we doing here? Come on,
Yeah, right.
no one, you fraud.
Well, we don't know if we're gonna love Nolan's The Odyssey, but we do know that we love this
Hmm.
film. I've really enjoyed chatting about it with you guys so far, but it's time to do that dirty media lit thing where we have to
Mm.
ask, you love it, but does it have any flaws? Randy, I'm going to throw it back to you here. You gave us such a beautiful explanation of how it satisfies your Odyssey itch. Does it have any flaws?
There are a few flaws here. I've got a few. I'm debating which one. I was kind of hoping to go last here so I could see what you guys covered first. But I think I'll keep it studious. I think one sort of I won't quite say problem in this film, but one thing that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in this film is the fact that um we've got so much music that has its origins in Black American culture. We see is from, the fellow prisoners working the line, uh, breaking up those stones to the men who are digging the graves, to to Tommy, our guitarist who sold his soul to the devil. You've got these things on the periphery, they're in the background. And certainly, uh, class and economics enter into this, and we've got these three heroes who are down on their luck, and they are not in the upper class. And I think it's important to recognize that people can unite and work together when they share struggles, and it means a lot to me that they so quickly stand up for Tommy, that they so
Mhm.
quickly know what it is right to do to support him. So to call this a flaw might be a little bit extreme, but I do kind of feel the weight of like there's a version of this story where I'd be curious to see it from like a Black American perspective. However, there's a flaw with that because if you go with that perspective, then you can't have this free roaming adventure. There are so many obstacles
Yeah.
in the way that get in the way. And while I don't think every reader is gonna or every viewer is gonna think about this on such a deep level. You can tell they're trying to play with that connection, like one of the most sort of surprising and confounding lines is, after they rescue Tommy from the clan meeting, and they're unmasked, and Stokes says that the color guard is colored.
Mhm.
And, it's a bit unclear if this is him misreading from a distance their sort of dirty faces from
Yeah.
what they've been through. Um, if this is, sort of like these white and black associations made with good and bad, or some assumption of their character he's tied to race. Um, and it shows us that it's a construct that needs to be changed, right? Versus something that's a reality. This is a myth that these hateful people are selling. So calling it a flaw would be a little bit harsh, but like I find myself asking those questions.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like there's room for more diverse voices in a version of this story. Even though
Mhm.
I don't think it's done in an irresponsible or an irreverent way, but like watching it in 2026, that's where I saw the most room for additional perspective.
Do you think
Yeah.
that that's because you were asking yourself the question if it has any flaws and you were looking for them? Or do you
Partly
think that, like,
that
you were watching it and you honestly thought, like, it's hitting you weird, something was missing from the film?
uh, again, like yes and no, like in the sense that when the film first fires up and we see all those men chained up and the three men who get away, are three white men
Yeah.
or who we see like escaping through the field. It made me feel like we were like turning the camera away from a certain part of the story.
Which I think a film has to do because it
Yeah,
can only tell one
yeah.
story, right? Like, the world is happening all around us all the time, and,
Um,
we tell one story at a time, I think.
but yeah, so this was partly me digging for something. But I also wanted to pair it with what I did say, which is I think there is some pretty interesting commentary on race and class in here if you're looking for it. So
Mm.
I found myself asking about that perspective, but also found some compelling answers when I was looking for them.
Well, I think if you wanted to make the argument, you could say that Tommy is a very underwritten character.
Mhm,
And I don't know if that is because you cast a musician who is not by trade an actor, uh, you know, but I felt like you bring him along and then he kind of dips out for a while and then comes back and he's just sort of there. You know what I mean? He's like the 3.5 member of this group, not a full fourth.
mhm.
Like they just don't write him enough, and I don't know if that is akin to someone within the Odyssey that like that character is very similar that plays like a parallel too. But if you're gonna make that argument, it's like yeah, Tommy could have been a little more compelling, a little more fleshed out instead of like this archetype of a musician who sold his soul at the crossroads to the
Mm.
devil. But although that character does set up big pieces like the
Yeah,
clan stuff and the devil being the sheriff, or the law enforcement who's saying he has no eyes and all this stuff, and really
yeah.
Right.
builds up
Yeah.
that mythical character there. But yeah,
I think
Tommy is very underwritten.
I do think he manages to be quite impactful to the story
Oh, yeah.
overall, without, to your point, Randy, making it more complicated than the story needs to be, because it would be more complicated for these guys to be on the run with a fourth person at all, right? A fourth person's automatically more difficult to move around with, and a fourth person at this time in the world who's black. It would just be a totally different experience for them, going anywhere they go. You know, the question of integration is looming in the subtext of this film, right? Papio Daniel's unsure whether or not it's something he should align with or resist. He doesn't know how the constituency will feel about it until it's proven out in the end. So
Thank you for pronouncing it right.
Thank you. But Randy, you're right. The subtext is all there. There's definitely invites the questions. You know, I think going back to the who's the other politician? Not Papio Daniel, but
Stokes.
Homer Stokes.
Homer Stokes. Thank you very much.
Fine for the little man.
Homer Stokes. I think it's intentional that he mistakes them for black, because we see them implying. I asked myself whether or not the flaw of this film was that it does include sort of our three white actors doing blackface, but they're not intentionally, because we see them painting it on after they've broken Pete out of the bunk at night. They're walking the road.
Yeah.
They're rubbing black all over their faces with a burnt cork. They're intentionally blackening their faces. But it's not because they're trying to pretend to be black men. It's because they're trying to camouflage themselves as they get away in the dark. Then they happen upon the Klan meeting, and they steal hoods and they go in. Yeah. But they did absolutely color themselves dark on their faces. But I believe the reason for me I ultimately decided wasn't an instance of blackface and poor taste was because that's not what the characters in the world were doing when they applied it, right?
And they didn't do a very good job of it either.
No,
to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was just camouflage. They were just trying to get as much soot on their face as they could at the time. So I do think that is what he's seeing, what Homer Stokes is seeing, is what appears to be very dark-skinned men in that moment, with his eyes.
Love that.
Bill, do you want to highlight a different flaw? Do we want to just live in this and let this be it, or do you have anything else that was burning?
I looked through Letterboxd and of people on Pop Break who have seen the film, and our film editor Marissa Carpico, who loves this movie, said if she was going to point out a flaw, and Marissa's a very smart person, so I trust her opinion very implicitly.
Yeah, her reviews are awesome.
Oh yeah, she's one of the best writers I've ever encountered in my life. Randy being, he's up there too. It is a bit segmented. It is very episodic, it's a little too neat. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we have our this, we have our this, we have our this. I like that, but I can see where it's just like, it is very segmented. I wish there was, and this is a personal flaw that I have, and it's also no wait, that didn't sound right. Here's my flaw. No, this is something I would have wanted. I could have had another 30 minutes to this film. Like, I loved living in this world. We could have had a little more time for stuff to breathe, and that gets into that segmentation. Whereas everything's very neat, and we get to business. Not a lot of fat, but this is a movie, especially with an Everett McGill type, where you could lounge in it. You could be one could luxuriate in a place like in the sweet ambrosia salad that is this movie for sure. And I think and you could have taken that time a little bit more with Holly Hunter, because she's super great. She's Holly Hunter. She's great, right? But a little bit more, just a little bit more. I think we could have done that.
Yeah, beautiful. I think that's more than fair. I think that is kind of aligned with, I hadn't quite thought of it that way, that they could have added more time to the film, because I started from a place of saying, nope, there's no flaws. It's a perfect film. And then that can't be really the case. Let me walk this back. And I went through the blackface thing, and I will say, I'll circle back to that. But to your point, Bill, as far as the timing of it all, I felt, as I was looking at it more closely, that the ending just felt rushed. That was where I felt they could have broadened things out a little bit. If ultimately this Odysseus character, what he was driving after was getting back to his wife, right, and reclaiming her. In this case, it isn't about getting there before the suitors can force her to marry. In this case, her heart has been won by another. She has rejected the husband, and she's trying to marry. Yeah. And so that, the resolution that comes there is pretty vague, right? I guess the new fiance is sort of shamed because of his association with Stokes.
I have an answer. I have a theory on this.
like, I guess that's what's happening, right? He's ashamed. His bona fides all came with association with Homer Stokes. And now Homer Stokes is out there for the new beau. And his bona
Rascalism.
fides
Only is
right out the window. He had a chance to jump ship and join Pappy O'Daniel, and that maybe the film would have ended differently if he had, right? He would have been on the side of the good guy there in the end. But that all perhaps could have been fleshed out a little bit more. We could have some more a deeper look at Holly Hunter's character and understand a little bit more about why she's going to go right from new fiance back to old scoundrel just because of that.
No, it's not that moment. So I always wondered this, and on this rewatch, when he gets his clock cleaned, she falls in love with him again. There's a look in her eye that every husband knows when you do something real silly. And your wife looks at you and goes, "Yeah, that's my guy." Yeah, she is back in love with him at that moment. The tide has turned, and then when he is like, "Here I am," nothing. What's it, Walpole? Yeah,
Woolworths.
Yeah, no,
the
Woolworths is the
Woolworths
store,
guy. Yeah, stay out the Woolworths. And I also, anytime, if you ever listen to Socially Distance, when I introduce Amanda as a fiance, I'll go fiance. It's from Oh Brother Where Art Thou. I can never say fiance the right way. Well, no, I do say it the right way. Everyone else says it wrong. So once he starts and he even does that silly dance, she is like smitten little kitten. She's back. Girls, your dad didn't die. Your dad didn't die by a train. He's right there. He's right there on stage. And it's not because he's popular. I think it's just because he's cock of the walk. He's the paterfamilias, goddammit. And she sees it and she's like, how can you not love this guy? And I think the moment he got his ass beat, she's like, he was willing to get his ass kicked for me. He was willing to fight for my name when he didn't even need to.
Right.
He did all this stuff to get back to me. And she's like, okay, we're back.
So I will validate that. I didn't see it in the moment where he's shaking off the punches, which I didn't know George Clooney had the comedic chops. But when
no one did.
Those first few jabs that he eats those jabs and he looks surprised and he's shaking them off. Man, he is hilarious. I didn't clock what you're describing in that moment, but I did when they separate over to the window and they're close to one another. You can feel very quickly the physical chemistry, and you see all 12 children they've got rolling around, and you see this lady, she's still got the hots for the man. They've still got the hots for each other. There's a moment where they come close, and there's like the near intimacy of a kiss. It's a few frames long, but it's right there, and it's a moment for sure. So I will validate that observation that from that fisticuffs in the store.
Listen,
still smitten.
It's when you're horny on the main for your spouse, you see it in other couples. It's true.
Yeah.
You see, you're like, I got you, pal. I know what's going on. I see what's happening here.
You know what? You guys gave me a great opportunity to maybe bring this whole thing full circle, right? If we are looking,
how is this going to happen? This would be great.
You just wait because, I was talking about socioeconomic struggles, right? Like these three men, they've all committed crimes. But that we have no reason to believe any of them are truly cruel men. In fact, I'm sure we're going to talk about what stand-up men our main characters are at many different points in this film. They're victims of circumstance. They've got to do what they need to do to survive. If you are Tommy, you will sell your soul to the devil to survive. I'm not using it. You've got to do what you can to get ahead. And while we don't spend a ton of time with Holly Hunter's Penny character, if you're a woman in this world, in this time period, with all those little Warvy girls, like, you've got to survive. And part of that deal involves marriage. It's finding someone with the bona fides, someone who's going to support you. So I don't think she's thrilled to be marrying this dude, but he's the survival option, right? Like, that attraction's never gone. She almost has to hide it behind that, like, really absurd, your daddy was hit by a train lie. Because I do think she's in love with him the whole time, but the status, the money, the endorsement from the governor, like, those are the things that seal the deal, at least in terms of the paperwork.
Vernon T. Waldrip. I think that's brilliant. Really, Nice, nice full circle moment. When I was just looking back at my notes to see about what I had written about the fight scene there, I came across another note. I will say, the last thing I'll say about the race issue, because I do think, to your point, a film chooses a perspective, and this is a perspective of white people at this time in this world.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, much is lost, and a different audience member probably wants more from different perspectives in this film. But the one note that I did take as they approach the crossroads, and they immediately, Del Mar's like, ought to pick that boy up. I'm like, our guys aren't racist. And then when you're seeing, you're watching a film in a certain time period from a certain perspective. For me, at the very least, I want to make sure the film makes clear, are my characters racist or are they not racist? Because at this time in the world, you're on one, I mean, always, but when the world is quite literally segregated around you, you're either with that or you're not with that. And to pretend that that isn't a part of the world of the time is false, right? So as soon as they pull up, I think that's a really cool shorthand. That's like, he's just another person on the side of the road looking for a ride.
Yep.
Just stop and pick him up. I was like, our boys aren't racist. Love that.
Yeah.
That was a huge surprising part after the Soggy Bottom Boys are playing, and then Homer Stokes has this old, well, a certain secret society, and everyone's like, boo. And I'm like, wait, what? This is Mississippi, right? I thought like the people were down. And they run him out on a rail.
Yeah.
And they start throwing, of course, someone has a vegetable they throw at him, but they're like, no, you're out. And I'm just like, holy shit, like, yeah, that they turned on him real quick at the first mention of the Klan. I was like, great, okay, this is awesome.
Well, and he says it with a real, like, kind of shit-eating grin on his face, too.
Oh,
he
yeah.
thinks the same thing. He thinks that whole room's going to have his back. A certain secret society.
His constituency.
Yeah, my God.
Well, listen, Pappy O'Daniel's got a new brain trust.
Perfect. Well, folks, that was a longer than usual background intro, but I knew that was going to be the case for this particular movie because it's so rich, it's so powerful. And before we dig into our more traditional deep dive, this is where we'd like to recognize some of our friends and their podcasts. And we've got the editor-in-chief of the Pop Break with us tonight. So we're going to check out some great shows from Bill's network, and I hope you'll check them out. We'll be right back with you after this quick break.
This is Bill Bodkin, editor-in-chief of thepopbreak.com.
And this is the Human Star Wars Encyclopedia, Amanda Rivas.
We're the hosts of Pop Break's weekly flagship podcast, Socially Distanced.
Join us every week as we discuss the latest, the greatest, and even sometimes the lamest movies, shows, and trends in pop culture.
Whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, Bridgerton, DC, or the NFL, we're talking about it on Socially Distanced.
Check out new episodes every Thursday on all your favorite streaming platforms.
There's a destination a little up the road from the conversations and the pods you know.
Welcome to Podolay, a monthly podcast tackling over 30 years of music from alternative rock pioneer Beck Hansen. You might say this podcast is
where it's at. We've got 3 podcasters and their microphones.
So join your hosts, Randy Elaine,
Justin Mancini,
and Kris Ingersoll,
for a show that poses one simple question.
I'm a podcast, baby, so why don't you stream me?
All right, folks. Once again, I'm going to ask you to please check out all of our friends' great work over at the Pop Break. But right now, it's time for us to dig into the episode as literature. And we've been getting pretty heavy with our chat so far. But I just wanted to kick things off with a fun question. Because when I think about the fun of this movie, it's how quotable it is, right? We've been sneaking in the quotes already throughout our conversation. But the best quotes, they go to George Clooney's Ulysses Everett McGill. This is a man who found himself in the penal system for practicing law without a license. He is an intelligent man, but not as intelligent as he tries to sell himself to be. This pseudo-intellectual sort of babbling defines his character, and it's so much fun. It's one of the reasons why this is one of, if not the greatest, George Clooney performances out there. So I just want to ask you, what is your favorite turn of phrase from this man of constant sorrow? Kris Ingersoll, I'm giving you first crack at this one.
I'm thrilled to have it. And with the first crack at it, I'm going to go to the very first lines he speaks in the film. Say, any of you boys smithies? Or if not smithies per se, were you otherwise trained in the metallurgic arts before straitened circumstances forced you into a life of aimless wandering? He pops up onto this train and immediately establishes himself as this fast-talking blatherskite, as the teacher so succinctly put it. You just know everything you need to know about this guy the moment he utters these absurd words. And he utters them so quickly and yet so properly enunciated. He really does have that gift of gab.
Yeah, that just, in addition to the line being so great, it's just such a great character intro. Like the fact that he's so focused on his bullshit and on himself that he does not have the wherewithal to first make sure I should help all of these other guys I'm chained to onto the train. That's what you're thinking watching the movie. Like, okay, pull the next man up.
Full charm assault. The second he sees other human beings ripe for the listening, he starts jabbering at them. Full charm assault immediately.
Bill Bodkin, there's so many great ones to pick from. Which one are you going to go for in this moment is your favorite?
So many. The man who inspired me to use pomade. Of course, it's it's a goddamn geographical anomaly. 2 weeks from everything is the classic, but there was one that struck me that I never remembered. It's when he still steals the watch from Pizza Can. And there's this, it's like, he's like, you miserable little snake, you stole from my kin. He said, well, who was fixing to betray us? You didn't know that at the time. And Everett goes, so I borrowed it until I did know. And Pete goes, that don't make no sense. And he responds, Pete, it is a fool that looks for logic in the chambers of the human heart. And it's like, none of that makes sense. But it's perfect. It's just absolutely perfect because he is just like, Clooney is so like, if you watch him in this film, I remember I showed my dad this after I watched this with one of my best friends. And we rented it on DVD from Blockbuster. And I showed it to my dad, and he was never a big Clooney guy. But but the thing, because he's always so cartoony in this, I'm like, but he's not. He's so effortless when he says these things. It's just like when he wakes up, he's like, oh, my hair. Just like, it's stuff like that. But that's when Clooney's at his best, when he tries to be effortlessly cool, but is such a weenie in the end. It's great.
No, it's a special performance, right? Like,
For sure.
The order I saw these movies, I was really familiar with Ocean's 11 before I got around to Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which came out first. But I can't help but think the time he spent is this sort of over-the-top smooth talker. I think that's just baked into Clooney for the rest of his career. And it owes so much to how effortless and believable that cool as a cucumber Danny Ocean character is later.
1000%. Absolutely. And poor Pete doesn't stand a chance. Like he sniffs it out. He's like one of the only people ever to call him directly on his bullshit. Like, what you just said doesn't make no sense. But he so confidently just keeps on going that poor Pete just like, either I don't understand or he's full of shit, but I guess maybe I don't understand.
Well, speaking of Pete, this is what I'm going to go with for my favorite. I actually had the one about the looking for logic in the chambers of the human heart as well. But my runner-up was Pete, the personal rancor reflected in that remark, I don't intend to dignify with comment. I'm going to have to pull that one out to use in my everyday life, I think.
You have to at least work it into a future podcast. Like, I feel like there's a draft moment, perhaps. Maybe Dan Cohen's involved. The personal rancor, I love that. That's absolutely wonderful.
Maybe it's for the best he was squished. He was barely a sentient being. And I just love the moment of, does he mean the toad? Or is this a shot at Pete? Or is it both?
Definitely a shot at Pete.
Yeah. I have a runner-up that I'm going to squeeze in because when you've gone to me, I assumed that those first lines would be taken. I assumed you wouldn't come to me first. If I had my druthers, I would have gone with, damn, we're in a tight spot.
Yeah.
Because he's so performative that then he repeats the line because it's the only thing that feels correct for the performance in that moment. He doesn't have anything more clever to say. but he has to say something because that's what he does. So he just keeps repeating, damn, we're in a tight spot. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Perfect stuff.
Oh, I got one more for you. I'm sorry. It's just
Yeah, you
it's
get to
when they
smuggle too. Don't you worry, Bill
Oh, yeah.
Bodkin.
so they're talking about the devil, and he's like, and Pete asked Tommy what the devil looks like. And he's like,
Yeah.
well, there are all manners of lesser imps and demons, Pete, but the great Satan himself is red and scaly with a bifurcated tail and carries a hay fork. And Tommy's like, no, he's a white guy. And he's just like, well, and he like kind of accepts. It's like, I never didn't see him, so I'm wrong.
Moving
Uh,
on.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just like he just throws these words out there. And again, that goes if you ever watch Burn After Reading,
Yeah.
as another one, it's like he's like I got anaphylactic reflux. And John Malkovich just goes, he's like, do you mean acid reflux? Or are you going into anaphylactic shock? And because that's just his running gag that he just says these big words and I'm like, oh yeah, I get it, but he's full of shit.
Yeah, full of shit. Brilliant. Wonderful final edition. Randy, you want to smuggle or shall we move on to our other performers here?
No, I'm sure I'll find some more smuggles down the line, but I'm good for now.
Good man. Well, we're going to move on, maybe not moving on from Ulysses. I don't want to assume because here's where we're going to talk about our trio and maybe who we think shines brightest. This trio of escapees bound by fate and chains. Who did it for you, Bill Bodkin? We'll go right back to you.
I mean, they're all special, right? But I still have to go. I have to go with George Clooney. I have to go with Everett here because as Delmar is the sweetest character. He is the Josh Sarnecki of this group. He is the
Yeah.
warm moral center. Gopher Everett? Great line. He's like, old city of gophers back there. And then because you're thinking about like these guys just murdered a whole bunch of gophers. But yeah, he is the straw that serves the drink. Everything revolves around him and his harebrained schemes. And if it's not around that, it's about how much he's slipping on a banana peel and taking a pie to the face. Yeah. Like that is what he is. He is the front man of this film. Without him, like I was thinking, like, could anyone else have really done this role but George Clooney? And the answer is no. And apparently he never even read the script. They went to him and were like, hey, you want to do it? This is the role. He's like, in. And yeah, they went from there. And I think it was the perfect choice for him because like this really showed, like we said, this effortless cool that he has. But like I said, like Clooney's best parts are when he's not playing the Danny Ocean. Like if you think of Michael Clayton, which is a great film done by Tony Gilroy, who did Andor. Yeah. Like not, he's a smooth guy who gets unraveled. Here he's another smooth guy who, by the seat of his pants, figures it out. And I think that's what makes him special because he's supposed to be this cool, sophisticated, like mover and shaker, but obviously he's dumber than a bag of hammers. Another line that I use constantly.
And he wants to project confidence, but he's so desperate for validation,
at all times.
Constantly projecting, like Kris, you already shouted out, like the men on the train. He's like, before circumstance got in the way. Later on when we find out that Mrs. Hogwallop, RUNNOFT, it's like I'm sure she was just out looking for answers, right? Like there's always a reason, and that's how he wants to see himself. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm looking for answers. Times got tough. Yeah, great performance.
Yeah, he's got to almost be the Mo of these Three Stooges, right? He's got to be able to be just as slapstick as the others, and yet straight as an arrow at other times too. And he does it. He walks that fine line beautifully. Randy, what about you? Do you want to double down on Clooney? Give us some more love, or are you going to look elsewhere?
I mean, Clooney is like the correct answer, but I'm going to take this as an excuse to celebrate Tim Blake Nelson as Delmar.
I knew it.
Just because he is so pure. Bill rattled off some examples. When Babyface Nelson starts shooting at the cows, just not the livestock, George.
That was my least favorite part of the movie.
And when the woman in the bank whispers Babyface and he loses it, like just the way he is able to like horse whisperer him down. She didn't mean nothing by it, George. He can see this thing going down. during the picnic before he gets bashed in the face by John Goodman, he's doing like a full Disney princess with like butterflies landing on his arm. His love for Pete, even as a toad, is incredible. But that's not even his whole character, because he has a mission. He
Yeah.
wants to go back and support his family. He wants to get the family farm back. He didn't want this life of crime. He wants to be good. He's so joyful at the prospect of this notion that he could be saved, that all of his sins could be forgiven, and he
Washed
can
away.
now go back and just, become the kind of man he wants to be, presumably the type of man that he had as role models growing up. And I just love that he wants that. And I love that it's infectious. Pete certainly has a huge role to play in that as well. But the fact that Everett eventually does take some responsibility for his lies is a testament to these two men. But I'm going to shout out Delmar.
I'm so glad you did. Tim Blake Nelson plays it so earnestly.
Mm-hmm.
So earnestly. At no point is Delmar's like any lack of intelligence really like the butt of very many jokes, because he's too earnest. He's too wonderful to really mock or to condescend to even.
Yeah.
Really wonderful. That's all in Tim Blake Nelson's performance. And again, the way nobody can mouth the word toad the way he can mouth the word toad. But I will take this opportunity to
We
celebrate.
thought you was a toad.
It's so good.
Lie down there.
And that's where I will take this opportunity to celebrate John Turturro. Because Pete has to be like as bold as Ulysses, right? But he can't be quite as smooth. He can't be as successful at living out that boldness, right? But he's such a pure character. He's got a clear set of moral standards.
Mm-hmm.
The loyalty means everything to him. And it not just when it goes against him, it doesn't mean so much to him that it can make him angry, but when he feels he's not been loyal, it can break him.
Yeah.
I loved that in his character and in his performance. When he is with his boys, I had forgotten exactly the way the beats played out. So after they rescued him, they break him out of the bunkhouse, and they're on the road together, and they're already talking about, moving forward. I almost thought for a second that, like, the reveal, like, that it was just taken for granted that he had ratted on them, from the moment he was warning them not to go to the treasure, that they're planning on ambushing you all, that it was just assumed what he had done, that he had ratted them out. But then I was patient, and a beat later, you get the confession.
Yeah.
Man, he's so wonderful as a human in that moment amongst these brothers of the road that he's made. And he feels this sorrow and this regret for what he's done. And then the nuance in his performance as Pete has to realize what Ulysses has done, what Everett has done.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to sort of process that all these feelings of guilt and such were also then, kind of for naught, because he had been duped all along. Turturro is brilliant because he's not over the top. I think it'd be so easy to play this character as over the top, lean into the country bumpkin, lean into the lack of intelligence, lean into the angry rage because of the broken. It's all at the very human level. And it's wonderful. So all three of these guys, I think, are on their A game in this film.
Beautiful. Well, those are our three main characters, but let's talk about some of our favorite supporting performances. We've got so many incredible character actors popping in and out of this film. So many people put their mark on this story. Bill Bodkin, who's your favorite supporting performance in this film?
It's a real tough one because you have like some of the best, but I am going to go with Charles Durning as Pappy O'Daniel, who does a little bit of all of those people who saw the first Muppet movie ever.
Doc Hopper's French fried frog legs.
Exactly. So he's doing Doc Hopper with that voice, and he's like calling everyone a some bitch, and he's like, "We ought to get us some of the reform. Where do you come back?" And he's like, we ain't got no reform. He is such a Southern fried foghorn leghorn character sipping on his sweet tea, telling people to, make sure when you're frying up those flapjacks to use Pappy O'Daniel flour. He is a guy from a bygone era who you think they do such a wonderful job of being like he is full of rascalism and cronyism. He is the embodiment of that. But ultimately, he lucks out because Homer Stokes is a bigger piece of shit, right? And so he gets out there. And I love when he comes out on stage at the end. He tries to climb up the stage. He can't do it, obviously. And then he comes up and he does a little butt shake, puts his thumb on there as for sizzling, and then like how much he loves him. And then the part where he keeps going back, he goes, "Ain't you boys?" Like he's just like, "I got you, I got you, I got you by the balls here, because I'm pardoning you to make myself look good, but you better do what I say now." And it's just such a wonderful, bombastic, role that he's done so many great things. Like if you ever seen The Sting, I've talked about you guys, is amazing that. But a great one, Home for the Holidays, with Holly Hunter, Robert Downey Jr. It's a phenomenal Thanksgiving movie. He's great in that too. It's like he is just like you forget because he's been in a million things. Like
Dog Day Afternoon.
I mean, it has been a minute since I've seen that. But yeah, you forget how great he is, and he's just pitch perfect here as this remnant of like that. What caused the Great Depression in the first place?
Brilliant.
Love that. Kris Ingersoll, how about for you? Your favorite supporting performance or cameo?
I'm actually going to leave. We share our love for Community now. I'm going to leave one on the table, I think, for you, Randy. And if not, we'll pick up the pieces after if you're going somewhere else. I want to celebrate a much smaller part in this film, but an electric one. I'm going to look at Michael Badalucco and the role of George Nelson, babyface Nelson.
George Nelson.
My God. He comes in and lights this film on fire, right? He comes out of nowhere on the road. You're not sure what turn the film's about to take, right? Our guys have just escaped near capture again because the cousin betrayed them. They've ditched the little boy on the road. They've got they lost the car. They're walking at this point. And here comes George Nelson screaming down the road. And he's so full of life. He's so full of, like, you took the stuff that whatever, like, the universe used to create the spark of life, and he drank it, like he guzzled it down, and it's inside of him. And he could regurgitate it onto you and share that with you. Like, being around him is to be near the spark of life and to feed off of that energy. And you watch the way in which our guys are sort of a little dazzled, right? Even Everett doesn't know what to make of this big, bombastic personality, right? And for somebody to come and knock that character off of his feet and leave him a little bit on his heels is no small feat. So shout out to the performer who's able to absolutely own this big, big role and make so much of the little bit of screen time that he had, to the point where when he comes back around in the end of the film, it's like I don't know, for me, it was a triumphant moment, even though he's like triumphantly walking to his doom. Seeing him again back on top and hearing Delmar, recall, like, I guess he got back on top after all. It really is this little, like, kind of triumphant moment in the film, despite him having so little screen time and us having almost no reason to be invested in him at that point. So shout out to the performer.
He's great. He's great. If you ever want to see just a complete opposite role, watch him in The Professional. Oof.
Yeah.
Okay.
In that final sequence there, Kris, at one point, he says, "I'm going to suck all the power out of the states," when he's talking about how he's going to be fried. But like the double meaning there, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been talking about these corrupt politicians, all these desperate circumstances that people, including George Nelson, have been placed in that have pushed them towards this life of crime. I found myself wanting to go rewatch Bonnie and Clyde, hanging out with babyface Nelson. Yeah.
Enemies.
There's a statement and there's some satire in here for sure. All right. Kris, you're going to have a hard time believing this. I am not going to go with John Goodman here.
Okay. All right.
I'm a huge John Goodman fan. Love him. Love him in this movie, of course. He gives me the most Cyclops energy just when he's finishing up his meal before the attack. just sucking on that bone, talking about how he wants to really take his meal and enjoy it. It's great stuff. But my favorite John Goodman performance of all time is actually opposite John Turturro and Barton Fink. Love John Goodman in
I
that
gotta watch
film.
that.
Okay.
Now I have to really watch
Um,
that.
some wild stuff. But despite the fact that we've talked about her a little bit, we didn't get enough time. I've gotta say Holly Hunter as Penny.
Yeah.
We know she's a powerhouse. She's never not incredible in anything. Um, but even though I would have taken a lot more Holly Hunter, all the things she's able to communicate in that little screen time, I think we really well articulated how much we believe her relationship with Everett, and that's a testament to both of those performers. But Holly Hunter with the harder job to do because um, we understand what motivates Everett a little bit better than we understand what motivates her.
Mhm.
Her commitment to that hit by a train story gives us just a little spark of the fact that like she can match his energy despite the fact that she's under this pressure to present a certain public persona. She's not going to get thrown out of the Woolworths. She knows how precarious her position in the world is. But my favorite thing that she does, and that George Clooney does opposite her, is the way they create this quick shorthand of how they have this thing about when she counts to 3, it's
Yeah.
over.
Yes.
And they don't need to over explain it to us. She delivers the line. He responds to it. You can tell that is a full final word. He doesn't have any other BS he can spout to try to get out of it. And it tells you almost everything you need to know about their relationship. And I don't think there are too many performers you could have put into that role who could have sold it. So, Holly Hunter for me.
I mean, a phenomenal choice. Again, somebody who doesn't get a ton of screen time, but leaves such a huge mark on the film and the film watching experience. I just love the iconic like voice delivery, the way Holly Hunter says
Mhm.
anything she says. So
Yeah.
you're right. When she's almost as fast talking as he is, I love the way she delivers. Like best thing you ever did for those girls was get hit by that train. Like she's speaking
Yeah.
about it as if it's a reality of things that did in fact happen. She's so
Mhm.
committed to the bit and committed to the lie. Really, really good. Yeah, I've spoken my piece and I've counted to 3. I loved the rhythm of that.
Mhm.
And you can see the impact it has on him. Yeah, brilliant.
And she always makes Everett pull his hat out from wherever it is just to throw it on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Yeah, I don't think we needed to do Goodman. I think that's the right choice. I'm grateful for the
Yeah.
performers that we celebrated here. The only thing I'll say about his appearance as the Cyclops, it's the only moment I think the film gets really cute with like a wink and a nod at the Odyssey when he catches that flying flagpole right before it hits him in the
Yeah.
eye, right? He's not blinded like the Cyclops by a pointy stick. The little smug look he gives when he catches that pole is just so
Yeah.
perfectly
Mhm.
delivered from the performer John Goodman. So, all right, that's performers. Let's talk about the film a little bit more. What's your favorite scene in this film? Rain, I'm gonna give you first crack at this one.
All right. I've got really 2 main contenders that I feel really strongly about. But I'm just gonna say it's that campfire sequence. What are you gonna spend your $400,000 on? You get both Pete and Delmar just like absolutely hitting this out of the park. I think it's the moment where they really start to become real people for Everett. He doesn't maybe let on in that moment, but in retrospect that the weight of that lie has to be weighing on him,
Mm-hmm.
even as a pretty selfish guy. I already talked a little bit about Delmar, but like the vision he has of like, I'm going to slam that money down on the barrelhead and I'm going to take back the family farm. And it's such this pure triumphant moment of strength and like visualization from him that we don't really see in many other places in the film because he's so kind and patient. But Pete's performance is equally as moving. He's got this vision. He's going to be the maitre d' at his own restaurant. And he
Where
has
both
It
this
all
work every day.
swells.
this very sort of quaint idea of what it means to be wealthy. I'm greeting the swells. I'm wearing this bow tie tuxedo every day. But all the colloquialisms come in, these fancy servants he's imagining are gonna do everything in a jiffy for him. Like,
So yes,
and
no, sir.
yeah, the yes sir, the no sir, and it's not even like it feels like he wants to lord over people. It's just he wants to feel important. He wants to feel the feel of that suit. He wants to know what it is, and all my meals are gonna come for free. Tells you
Yeah.
that this is a guy who's had to fight for every bite of food
Yeah.
his entire life
Yeah.
without overwriting it. And yeah, as an audience member, it's where you realize these guys are a lot more than caricatures as well.
Yeah. Well said. Really beautiful.
What I love about that scene too is like the timbre of both their voices change.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's always like this strained, like just like very, Pete always feels like he's feeling the effects of being out of the sun and sweat and just pissed, right? He's just like everything is annoying.
Yeah.
But that he is like this pure ebullience that he has about this.
Yeah.
He's thought about this, whereas, Delmar's got that like all hopeful and all shucks type voice, but there he sounds confident and warm, and I am taking control. And it's interesting to see how that changes everything for them.
Yeah.
Lovely. Bill, what about you? What's your favorite scene in the film?
We thought you was a toad. It is the perfect summation of this movie. You have, you start the scene off, they're in the movies, Everett's motor mouthing while poor Delmer is just distraught over the loss of Pete.
Yeah.
And then you hear the whistle and the very Coen Brothers type of let's play with sound here, like what's coming in. And then you just have Pete and Delmar like straining their voices in the most ludicrous way to explain like what's happening. Whereas, Pete's like, don't go near the treasure. And it's just like, we thought you were a toad. He's like, and you just cut back to Totoro's face. He's like, don't seek the treasure. Like, and it's just like, and to me, it's just like, it's the chef's kiss here because it's just like, this is what this whole film is about. This is why we love it. And this is why we quote it, because it's so silly, but yet they are looking out for each other. The emotion of the scene of Delmar is so happy his friend is not dead. Whereas Pete is like, I have sold, like Kris, you mentioned before, he's like, I have sold you out. Do not do this. I'm trying to help. And meanwhile, Everett's just like, all right, I'm just watching a movie. It's
cool. Reunited and it feels so good. I don't know what you're so upset about. The shifty eyes from Totoro when that he looks, looking back, and he's
only he could do that. Man.
Unbelievable. Great scene. Yeah, a lot of fun. And to your point, the culmination of all this film is in these three characters, what they share together. For me, it's earlier. I think I described it when I talked about my first time seeing this movie, but I knew that this was something special the moment they step into that recording studio and George Clooney, quote unquote, starts belting out A Man of Constant Sorrow. Those first notes, there's so much energy in that room. You've got Tommy and the guitar, and it's working. And the song is so actually very good and catchy. And you've got the harmonies happening. The way in which it appeared that our boys shared so much chemistry that they could step into this recording booth and start laying down this track without any rehearsals or discussions. Even to the extent that Delmar and Pete are coming in for their harmonies on the same tin can recording mic and then stepping back out and Clooney's back in. There's such a beautiful motion to this, even though it's a very static scene, right, in this one recording studio. There's a beautiful fluidity to it. In the background, you've got Stephen Root, who we haven't been able to shout out yet, as, I don't know, I guess he's the sound engineer. He's not exactly he's not an on-the-radio DJ, I don't think, because you hear Pappy O'Daniel doing his own thing.
I think he is at one point. He is on the radio. But I think he does everything.
Yeah.
I think he just, I guess
it's his radio station, right? It's like his place. Yeah. He's the guy.
Yeah, and he's kind of on the cutting edge of, like, this recording in this region.
Yes, he must be, right. Stephen Root doesn't have crossed eyes. He doesn't have a lazy eye. He doesn't have any sort of differentness to his eyes. I don't know how he's managing the physical performance he's giving us as this blind recording studio guy. It's and sometimes he's like straight up closing one eye in order to emphasize like the imbalance between the two. But there was a moment where I was like, oh, I guess, yeah, he's squinting more than, then he opened both eyes again,
Yeah.
and they were in two different places, and there was so
Yeah.
much white and so little blue. I couldn't believe it. So this whole scene is full of just gold, from the music to the Stephen Root of it all. It's just perfect. And like I said, it lets you know this film has so much going for it that you're in for something special from here on out.
Yeah. Such an incredible scene. And that song, I think, even if people haven't seen this movie or it didn't hit them the way it hit us, people know that song. It's impossible not to like that song, even if you're not specifically into folksy music. It hits you on an emotional level from the top.
Unless you get pranked by it. And I'll tell you a quick story. So my wife's best friend, her stepfather and her mom, they were doing karaoke at this restaurant. They were running it. So we had to go to it because her friend had moved back from the UK with her husband and family. So we were all going out for the night. And so I was going, he was like, Bill, you did theater in high school. I was like, yeah. He said, you could sing. I'm like, okay, that's one way of putting it. And he's like, pick out a song. And I said, and I'll call you up at some point. I said, oh, cool. Man of Constant Sorrow. Yeah, I'll do that. I had just gotten married. And he says, all right, we got a very special guest coming up. It's Bill Bodkin. And this is his theme song to his current married life. And I'm like, oh, shit. And then that song played. And I was like, motherfucker. It's just like, yeah. But he's like, yeah, he did me dirty on that one. Nice guy. His name was Guy. So yeah, I was just like, oh, and my wife thought it was very funny because she knew I would never have picked that song. But yeah, it was, I belted it. I made it weird for everybody.
Good.
That's what I got.
Good, man.
That's what you got to do.
All I can do is live in it, right? Yeah, make it.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, the song is phenomenal. And when you get that little reprisal at the end, when Clooney knows just how to bring it back in after the guy's been carried out on the stake, it like brings the crowd back in. It's like actually electric. It's such a good song.
Oh, it is.
Well, do you know what I love about that is, like, at least in my head canon, they've been singing that song together on the Chain Gang.
Maybe. Yeah,
Probably.
maybe. Yeah, they just upped the tempo a little bit, got themselves some accompaniment, and laid it down.
Hell yes. All right, folks. Before we move on to our next sort of phase of the podcast, I'm going to shout this one out as a little, just more of a free-for-all, a place to shout out some things maybe we haven't gotten to yet. But in addition to some of our favorite scenes and these moments of performance we shouted out, what are some of your other favorite shots or just other like filmmaking choices we haven't had a chance to shout out yet?
Yeah, hold on. I got a few. I really think the pin, you guys gave me this phrase. I had never heard it before, and I love it. The needle drops. Here in the Rock Candy Mountain at one point, all the musical cues are just so perfect and spot on. The sirens, that is a cavalcade of a trio of famous women who are singing, Alison Krauss being one of them. And I love that openings and closing scene with our blind man on the push cart, I guess, for lack of a better term. Like, and they get on with him, and he takes them off to the story, and then he closes our story.
Mm-hmm.
Classic. That's a classic Coen Brother type thing. Mm-hmm. Having a narrator or like a meta character, like the Sam Elliott character and Lebowski. I thought it's just excellent stuff.
I work for no man.
Exactly. I wish.
Oh, yes.
Mm. Yeah, brilliant. I was going to go to the sirens. That were my absolute runner-up for favorite scene, and it was a toss-up until I actually started speaking which one I would pick, because that siren sequence is just excellent. The whole film slows down. You find yourself just as kind of hypnotized by the harmonies of these performers.
So good. So good, man.
You're not just hypnotized by the harmonies of them, but the way in which they're moving in close, intimate proximity with our main characters. It never gets actually physical. They don't lay their lips on anybody. They barely, no, their hands are on them. But there's just this like, I've come inside of your personal bubble, but there's still like a they're almost moving in slow motion, despite no actual slow motion being employed. It really is hypnotic, truly hypnotic. Very, very cool. Only other shot I wanted to shout out, I mentioned it earlier off mic, but the very beginning of the film, you come in with this excellent sound design over highly stylized opening credits, right? Oh, that chink of the hammer on the rail is just so immersive. It's so gripping. And that big wide shot of the chain gang doing their thing. And then our three heroes pop up in the midst of the cornfield making their escape. It's immediately gripping. I remember being a kid and not knowing what to expect from this film, not knowing what it was going to be about, not knowing who these performers were that were in it really, except for Batman. And I was just like, I couldn't wait to see what adventure we were about to go on as I watched these three guys run away from their chain gang. It's such a brilliant opening shot.
Yeah, I love those shout outs. Yeah, the siren sequence is incredible. That's actually a moment I thought about for my one flaw in the film, and it's got nothing to do with the blocking or the shooting of that scene, but that was the moment where I most wished we didn't have like dubs. Because like everything that's happening in the performance is so good. I was feeling the disconnect between the voices and the performers a little bit more. And it's not even an accusation that anyone did something wrong. Like the music has to be right and has to be perfect. But yeah, that's like the only thing that could have made that stronger. But actually the scene that I find maybe even more hypnotic is just the communal baptism scene.
Oh yeah.
The way that, Delmar in particular is so entranced in that moment. He's moved to run into the water, and you can feel that power of the music flowing through. And like it's part of like this collection of moments where music does that to people. We get it again in this sort of like almost like death hymn in that final moment outside the cabin where it looks like they've reached the end of the line. What a shame, fellas. I don't have a radio. I've got this higher justice. There's some darker laws that are going to play out, and I'm going to be fine. Yeah, it's such a beautiful movie.
Yeah,
so glad we got to watch it.
I'm going to sneak one in and it's a great Delmar moment. It's when they steal the pie, and then he leaves the money.
Yeah,
and then he gallops. He skips away because he's like, he's still saved. He's still okay. He's helped his friends.
Yeah, he's a sweet boy. And shout out real quick to Daniel von Bargen, that sheriff character, because he's hardly in the film, and yet he's not quite Darth Vader, but he's a looming menace.
Yes.
Every time he walks into frame, you're like, oh no. The parallelism between him as the sheriff and him as the literal devil is just chef's kiss from a messaging standpoint. But he's also he's Chief O'Grady from Super Troopers. As a New England boy, you gotta love Super Troopers.
As a human being.
Thank you for saying so.
It's true. You have to love Super Troopers.
I can't not see syrup. If I see syrup, I have to say, I am all that is man.
Well, the snozberries are snozberries. I say. That man married Christina Hendricks, by the way. That was crazy.
That's very crazy. If that does it for the pieces that were left to pick up, I've got one last question for you guys. We got to do pop culture. What other pop culture or literary references were on your mind as you watched this film? Bill, we'll go to you.
Okay, yes. Usually I am the one who never remembers this question, but I came prepared. So obviously, outside of the Odyssey, Steinbeck, really, John Steinbeck novels, really, whether it's like Glass Menagerie or whether it's his Why Am I Mice and Men, all the stuff that all comes in. Grapes of Wrath obviously comes in as well. Just this really depressing time in our country where it just like, and you see that with Hogwallops, you really see how bad it's got. That's really showing you how bad things are. You also thinking about
Nick's the census, man.
Yeah. I thought a little bit of, and this was weird. I'm like, I almost don't know why I put it, but I put Ichabod Crane because I just got like this kind of, again, this is an American tale, not fully defined just yet, still in like very undeveloped America. But it's a tale that is just so seeped in America. Also, tons of short stories that have come out of the South. It's like, so it always kind of appeals to that. And those are the ones that were the main. These were the main ones that definitely got to me for in terms of literature and pop culture.
Yeah, love that. Great pull, big brain Bill going
Yeah, man.
Steinbeck on us here. You, I can see the same energy in you as a student who comes prepared to a classroom, knowing they come prepared. I can see.
For
Yeah.
once, not off
Well
the seat of
said,
my pants.
Kris.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Randy, what about you, buddy?
Whew. In terms of pop culture, I just got to do a quick shout out to a comedy I enjoy, The Righteous Gemstones.
Wow.
Love to see John Goodman playing a corrupt supposed Bible salesman in this
Mhm.
film.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of other recent pop culture, all I could think of, especially when we were talking about my potential shortcoming of the film, is what a powerful double feature it would be to watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and then follow it up with Sinners for the late night show.
Fuck.
And just see like the
Yes.
magic of music working in a similar time period in different perspectives. It would be a really powerful connection there. Whew.
Ooh,
Were they both
brilliant.
set? Was Sinners also set in Mississippi?
Yeah.
Okay, I just couldn't remember. Oof.
But even if it weren't, like, it's so in the
It is,
same
yeah.
wheelhouse. But my big literary one, I've got to shout out Huckleberry Finn. It's not a one-to-one comparison, right? Huckleberry Finn, he probably has the most in common with Delmar, but Huck Finn isn't interested in property or owning a farm. He doesn't think a man needs land to be a man. But it's this game that all of the characters we've been talking about have to play throughout the story. Like, they've got to survive, and they're often on the wrong side of the law, but that doesn't necessarily make them bad people. We just talked about the pie sequence. Delmar throws the money. Huckleberry Finn is a young boy with inconsistent role models in his life, and he's desperately trying to find the right answers. He desperately wants to figure out what's right. And one of my favorite sequences in The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is when Huck is trying to explain to Jim that, like, oh, well, like, the widow explained to me that, like, it's not okay to borrow stuff. Like, Pap said it was okay to borrow stuff if you think you might pay it back someday. But the widow said that's just a fancy name for stealing. And I don't know what's what. And they end up, like, coming up with a compromise. Like, okay, like, we'll pick these 3 things not to borrow anymore. And then it should all even out. But then the things they decide that they're not going to steal anymore are the crab apples because they're never good, and the persimmons won't be ripe for 2 or 3 more months. So it's like there's this little bit of a self-serving nature. But on a more serious note, Huckleberry Finn expresses the exact same sentiment we get from Pete. At one point, Pete says, "It must be that hog wall of blood of mine." And this kid is racked with fear and guilt that he is destined to be just like his dad, who is a dangerous, violent, abusive man. He believes he's meant to be there, yet his heart is so pure, and he can't help but try to help and protect Jim, an escaped slave, on his journey. But the thing people don't always talk about in that book is you get to this moment in the novel where Huck Finn, he's written the letter to let Jim's owner know where he is, where he can be picked up, but then he rips it up. He can't do it. He can't send the letter. He's going to go break Jim out instead. But when he says it, he's not just like, oh, I'm going to help Jim, my friend. He also says, fine, I'll go to hell. Because society's told him he deserves to go to hell for doing this thing. And the subtext there is he's not going to worry about borrowing things anymore. The subtext there is maybe he's embraced being his pap. You know what I mean? Like, maybe this is the path to his first drink. And it's like this beautiful moment, but I also think of all the pain, and I think of a guy like Delmar and a guy like Pete, and like they're doing things that they regret, but they want their freedom, and there's something that they want that's just out of reach, but they're so easily labeled as outsiders or criminals, and that was very much on my mind here.
You're cooking, buddy. That's really great stuff. Because
Yeah, dude.
Both Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn were on my mind as well.
Yeah.
When you said that, a little fist pump, because just like the world of Twain in general, when I'm in Mississippi at any time, I'm often thinking of our boys on the river. But for me,
Are
it
you
was so much.
Are you in Mississippi a lot?
Yeah, as one does.
All right.
No, despite my extensive travels around the Midwest of this country and now the South, no Mississippi. But no, my associations were so much more surface level, like time and place. And like I was thinking of the King and the Duke because our guys are a little shifty, and Everett's such a con man. But none of the depth that you were mining there out of that connection to Huckleberry Finn as a character. Really wonderful. For me, it was more about like other films that sit in this time. I couldn't help but think of The Green Mile. That's a film that like really affected me as a kid when I first saw it.
Still never seen
in this, I think it's also in the 30s. Maybe it's, I don't know, somewhere in that decade, middle of the decade somewhere. Great film, moving to the nth degree, and an excellent Tom Hanks performance. But hard not to go there. Even like Road to Perdition, similar early aughts. Like we were doing a lot of this 1930s stuff. I mentioned earlier Public Enemies.
Yep.
With Babyface Nelson. That's the first film that comes to mind for me. I actually manage the facilities at the WeWork in Chicago, which is located in the bank from that film. The Bridgeview Bank is a historical bank in Chicago. So yeah, that's absolutely in there. I was also thinking about Community, Randy, because we've got John Goodman, and because we've got this faux lawyer in Everett. Of course, I was thinking of Community. I couldn't not. I could keep going. That about covers it. Nothing really poignant, just more surface level connection. So I think we did it.
All right. Well, on that note, we've just about done it. But Kris, I think it's time for us to move on to our extra credit section. And I have cooked up kind of a silly game for us tonight. These are always my favorite extra credit sections. Like we have our awards. But when I have a silly idea, I always get excited for it. So folks listening at home, I asked Bill and Kris to consider our trio of men on a chain gang together. We've got these really great performers in George Clooney, Tim Blake Nelson, and John Turturro. And I just asked them to imagine if you had to replace that actor on the chain gang with that actor as a different character they played. So all of a sudden, Ulysses Everett McGill is now Danny Ocean, or what have you. John Turturro is suddenly Irving Bailiff from Severance. Whatever you'd like to see happen. And then just tell us how you think the story is going to play out from there. This character finds himself on the chain gang. Kris, you look ready to tell me a story, so I'm going to go back to you again.
Oh, dang. I had some smuggles. Go to Bill first. Really, go to Bill, because I don't want to eat up the good ones. I don't want to eat up the goods.
So my question is, am I replacing all three or just one? Because I did all three. And I gotta tell you, I will tell you a narrative of one. But I'm going to tell you the three I picked.
Listen, Bill, I had just one in mind, but I want to hear your all three version instead.
And I think I have to go with Tim Blake Nelson as Looking Glass from Watchmen.
Yeah.
And you can't not do, I mean, you can't not do Pete as the Jesus and Danny Ocean. And I think this would be the greatest story ever told, because every single one of those guys thinks they are the smartest guy in the room.
Oh.
So I would love to see that, because you think about Looking Glass, like he was very quiet, super intense, but he was always very righteous, and he was always very, he would put that mask on to, reflect your evils and your ills, which like is really going to mess with Danny Ocean. And especially with the Jesus and his, predilections. So yeah, I just, all three of those guys, they would be caught, I think was what ultimately would happen. They'd be caught immediately. And then they would figure out a way to work together, because I think Danny Ocean would lead them in a way, because we saw he got Matt Damon's character, I think his name was Linus, to overcome his the shadow of his dad, of course, played wonderfully by Super Dave Osborne. When we do our Ocean's 11 podcast, that'll be great. But yeah, I'm telling you, like those three together, would blow it out of the water. The musical number, they would have a musical number. I'd love to see that. That'd be great. Just them with the sirens. Well, I mean, the Jesus would be fine. But yeah, everyone, it's all. Actually, I think Danny Ocean would be the only one who would be succumb to he would turn into the Toad there, because Looking Glass is too righteous, and the Jesus, that's not how he rolls.
Lovely. I'm so glad we went to you first. And I honestly held back because I didn't want to take the Danny Ocean of it all. I felt if I had to go first, I could not do Danny Ocean, but that's not who I really wanted to do. So it was like this. I felt like I was going to have to if it was me.
You traded back in the draft is what you did.
Exactly right. I withheld Ocean's 11 from my pop culture references because I didn't want to get too far into it, knowing we talk about it here, because ultimately these characters are very similarly motivated. Danny Ocean is theoretically like he's withholding a really important piece of information from most of the crew. The real motivation behind these heists is getting his wife back, just like Everett. So I feel like almost nothing would have to change if you swap those characters out.
And they both
motivated.
Have red hair.
They both kind of have. Oh, you're right. Whoa. They both got hearts of gold, so that they will be moved by their connection to these crews, these people that they're deceiving over time. So I felt Danny Ocean is the right person to slip in, almost because he doesn't change the movie very, very much. That's not who I was thinking of, though. For my answer, I'm going to select John Turturro. We'll be removing Pete from the film, and we will be rather inserting one Emilio Lopez from Mr. Deeds. He is sneaky. And I think having the sneaky butler in this film would be unbelievable. Think about every moment that they have to escape or do anything. He would just disappear and then reappear, and everything would be all set. And our Delmar and Everett would be quite confused. They wouldn't quite know how he did what he did, and he wouldn't tell them. He would just reassure them that it's all set, and he's very sneaky. I love the subversion of, like, Pete is very much his own man. He is not confrontational by any means, but he's so principled that it puts him in conflict with Everett from time to time, right? He plays for leader in the beginning, but doesn't really push on it. But there's conflict there because he, despite not being quite able to keep up with Everett, he smells the shit and can call it once in a while. Not Emilio. Emilio is going to like love and adore his companions. He's going to do everything he can to support them in their endeavors, almost to his detriment. So it's a very different film, but and fun and funny for a different reason. But I think equally fun and funny if we've got Emilio Lopez as our third.
I absolutely love this, Kris.
That is a bold call. I love it.
Yeah, Kris, I love how you called out sort of like the low-hanging fruit of Danny Ocean. That crossed my mind as well. I have several John Turturro performances on my list, including Irving, including Barton Fink, including Bernie Birnbaum from Miller's Crossing. But based on a conversation I had with Bill Bodkin and you earlier in this podcast, I know exactly what my answer has to be. I'm going to replace Ulysses Everett McGill with the most famous character from all of film. This is Jack Taylor from One Fine Day, who enters into an enemies to lovers romance with Michelle Pfeiffer in the mid-90s. Perhaps the most impressive relationship pull possible in the known universe. And here's what's going to happen when he lands.
They're two extremely attractive people. How is this a poll for either of them? They're like on the same
celebrate
plane,
Michelle Pfeiffer. Please.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but it's Clooney. It's not
I
me.
mean, but like, Clooney doesn't have his full salt and pepper just yet. You know,
right,
he's he's still growing into it. That being said, he's going to find himself on this chain gang. And most of the movie is going to progress the way we expect it to. He's a journalist. He's going to move forward with curiosity. He's going to quickly read that these men he's chained to do not deserve to be imprisoned. He's going to assume they have righteous motives. I assume he's a bit of a student of history. Now, here's where the film takes a turn. This is no longer Penny's husband. When they encounter the sirens,
they're all Michelle Pfeiffer.
He's going to put the pieces together as to what their real motivations are. Yeah. He's going to manage to call them out on it, hold it over their heads. And this whole double trio of people, they're going to fall into a reluctant partnership. And they are going to become partners for the rest of the film. And we're going to end with like a full romantic comedy, like triple wedding situation. Thanks to Jack Taylor and his game.
I like the end of
This
Saving
is-
Silverman, a nice triple wedding. We'd love to see it.
Mhm.
Oh my God, Randy! Like, did you? Okay, I have to ask. Did you come into that like that was in the chamber already, or was that all on the fly?
It was in the chamber already. I thought it was going to be an unexpected call out, but then we wound up
It
with a
still
surprise
is.
one fine day conversation. So I was like, I have to go with it now. There's no choice.
I thought this makes me appreciate the film now.
Really.
I will say, I think that was the first romantic comedy movie I ever watched as a kid. Was One
You
Fine
didn't grow up in
Day,
my house.
and we listened to a lot of like music of that era in my house growing up, and we were like allowed to watch it. So I think I watched that with my sisters like a dozen times.
Yep.
One Fine Day.
Oh, Mae Whitman. How about that? We love Michelle Pfeiffer. Great stuff. I mean, there's a version of this where we could have done the all comic book character iteration, right?
Sure.
I almost felt obligated as the Batman by the numbers guy to go with Carmine Falcone for Totoro, go with Bruce Wayne for Clooney. You've got the Batman and you've got Falcone there, and then you go with the leader, right? Tim Blake Nelson comes in. He's Samuel Stearns. We could have gone all comic book on this and really messed with the movie. Alas,
Could have, yeah. Thank God we didn't.
Thank God we didn't. I think that does it for that one, but we've got a little bit of extra credit left because we can't leave the film without taking a prop. Bill Bodkin, you are a veteran of this podcast. You know how this thing goes. You're so prepared tonight. This is the thing I was actually most excited to hear you answer.
It's the easiest one for me. Yeah. It's like, give me all that Dapper Dan. I mean, come on. Like, okay. I still cannot figure out. I mean, I'm sure you did. Like when he's sitting there, just like with his comb and he's like putting it on there. I'm just like, I got to figure out how to do that. I just want all of it because I want my hair to smell rich and luxurious. He has a million tins of it. I'm not going to put my hair in a hairnet. That's not me. Teach their own. Yep. But yeah, give me that Dapper Dan. I want to smell dapper for the rest of my days.
It's got to
because I feel like there's at least decades worth of. I'm not saying he has two cans. He's like decades worth of that hair.
So
smells.
that's my question, right? So you're going with the supply of Dapper Dan hair made from the house that was flooded. All cans seen in the movie are now in your possession. Any Dapper Dan that was on set is now in your possession.
Bill, I'm so glad you went here because despite all of the amazing sound design throughout this entire film, there's no more satisfying sound in the entire film than when he uses the comb to flip that little like metal lid back onto the Dapper Dan.
I want to
like the most pleasing sounds in the entire movie somehow.
Old time.
Yeah. Bonafide.
Bonafide. All right, Randy. What about you, buddy? What prop are you taking away from this film?
All right. I've got an elaborate option and a humble option. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, give us the elaborate one.
Oh,
I mean, you just did it. You just rewrote the film as One Fine Day. I mean, come on.
Right. So, as one does.
Listen, who's this?
No, but listen, I'm thinking of my prop cave, and I've really neglected like the outdoor portion of my prop cave.
Wow.
I have my Trial by Stone set from the Dark Crystal, but I plan to expand, and I was thinking, what if extending from the cave to the outdoor portion, I just had a humble length of track into the handcar, which I could pump to travel back and forth from the prop cave to my outdoor areas if I so desire.
Perfect. That's a great pick.
That's
a great pick.
That's unbelievable. Because now I'm picturing our prop caves. They are bigger on the inside. They have these multiple sections. And remember how in the film Blank Check, the kid has a water slide that goes from his super cool room down to a super cool backyard. That's how I'm picturing this kind of fitting into your world. You're going to hop on your little pump cart and you're going to move from one awesome section of your prop cave to another awesome section.
Absolutely.
Of your prop
Thanks for letting me have that, man.
Man, so good.
What was the humble one?
Just one of the Soggy Bottom Boys beards.
You could grow. I mean, you could grow that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, those are ZZ Top wishes.
Yeah.
That's
when he
truly
pulls that
very
beard
genius.
down in the middle of the performance.
Oh, Holly Hunter
Iconic
loses
moment.
it. She loses it. She is like child. The next child is percolating.
Because all the other women are too.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
She's like, oh, that's my man. Pulls
She's
down the
like,
really
no.
beautiful wing.
I'm gonna a little. She's like staking my claim right there.
That's my paterfamilias.
So many things I could say.
Yes, sir. We're gonna bite your tongue, sir. Watch your language is a public store. For me, this one was actually quite easy. There's, really some cool stuff. I shouldn't say it was quite easy because I did consider Big Dan Teague's big old stick. He, like, rips that thing off of the tree with his bare hands, strips the little twigs off of it. He just makes a proper weapon out of it for a second before absolutely beating Delmar to bits. But it's not that. It's Tommy's guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
later
I knew
see
someone was picking it.
Yeah, we'll see a banjo featured, man. This beautiful old guitar, the wood finish on it, the sound, the blues that he pulls out of that thing when he's sitting by the fire, and he's just riffing on some beautiful blues. It's got just the right sound. It's old timey. It's full of soul. It's full of warmth. I mean, acoustic should be really warm, and that's what this is. And I love the way that Tommy says this guitar. Like, you almost would believe that the devil taught him to play only this guitar. If he were to pick up another 6-string, he couldn't quite move it the way he moves this one, right? No. Like, there's something sort of magic in it. And while I don't want the devil to have my soul, if Tommy has already sold his soul to make the special guitar, I'm grateful to take the guitar itself. And it's just going to look great on display in the cave. You know, in my living room, I've got 2 guitars sort of at hand because I'll just pick them up and strum in the evening time on my porch or otherwise. But
that's old timey.
It is. I got a rocking chair and everything, bud.
Nice.
And a pipe, I'm sure.
Yes. But when they're just sitting, one's on the wall, in a little neck thing, and one is on a stand, and they just look so lovely on display. Any guitar does. So I'm really picturing this one getting proper lighting in the cave. Needs to be accessible because I plan to play it, but it needs to look good on display as well.
Does this also evoke our shared favorite, The Devil Went Down to Georgia?
Sure does.
Thank you.
Sure does.
Also reminds me of the guitar from Sinners, too.
I was going to say the Charlie Daniels that I could play on that thing, the Sinners cosplay I could bring to life.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Oh, man, you would do a great job playing that river dancing vampire, man.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, a role you were born to play, for sure. All right, folks. It's almost time for us to RUNNOFT. But before we go, we've got to thank our amazing guest, Bill Bodkin, for just yet another incredible chat.
Yeah, man.
Bill, it's always a special time when you're here with us. We always go so deep on these films, and I always feel closer to you as a friend and a podcaster, and it's a joy. So thank you.
Likewise.
I love coming on, dude.
Seeing good student Bill was such a delight tonight. There's a different kind of bubbly energy in you that way.
Yeah, prepared Bill doesn't happen very often, but
no, you always bring the goods, and tonight was no exception, man. This was a great chat. So glad to talk about something that means so much to you genuinely, and now I'm excited to be able to participate in the quote off. As we interact with one another, we can start to work these quotes into our personal lexicon. So love having you here on this show, but this is far from the only thing you do. Bill, please, if the folks want to hear more of you out there in the world or even read your works,
man,
where might they go looking?
I guess you'll have to make an edit note on this, but when is this coming out?
This will be, hang on, I can tell you in a minute.
Yeah, because this will determine a few things.
That's a busy podcaster who needs a timeline update before he can plug his stuff, because might be 15 more projects between now and when this thing goes.
Yeah, it is very likely.
And while we're celebrating professional podcasters, I almost had to throw my headphones when Randy transitioned us into this with that quote from the film. It's almost time for us to RUNN. Randy, that is some professional friggin' podcasting, buddy.
It's like he's been doing this for a couple minutes, I know.
All right, I've got this penciled in. Should be July 6th because I wanted to get it out right before the new Odyssey film.
Okay, cool.
Happy birthday to me.
Are you when's your birthday? July
5th. Me in
All right.
America every year.
You know what? I'd rather go to your 250th. I'll tell you that.
Damn
Probably you could probably get some better musicians.
It's gonna be a better lineup for sure.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
hopefully no cage match.
Oh.
We'll come back to that. Well, yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me. Yes, I'm the editor-in-chief of thepopbreak.com. We're celebrating our 17th year. We started in 2009, so we went to the junior prom. We were getting our driver's license. It's a heck of a time. But you know what else is going to be a heck of a time in July? San Diego Comic-Con. That's right. The Pop Break is going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. Not covering it. We've done that. We've been there. We literally got the t-shirt for that. No, we are going to have our own panel. That's right. Our very own Alex Marcus and Amanda Rivas will be leading a panel on. I can't say all the information because right now it is not July when we're talking about this, but there is a cavalcade of all-stars that have been a part of Pop Break podcasting, talking about a great pop culture bracketology that's going to be happening. So yeah, go check that out. We have, I'm sure by the time this airs, there'll be tons of stuff out there. So you can go check that out. Go check out Pop Break at San Diego Comic-Con. Also, I am the co-host of Socially Distanced Podcast. It is the weekly flagship podcast of thepopbreak.com. Myself and Amanda Rivas talk all your favorite things in pop culture. Randy Elaine, he was on talking about House of the Dragon. We're doing a monthly Star Wars, inspired by the Star Wars draft that Randy and Kris were involved in, so beautifully put together. Kris, I'm giving you credit for putting it together because I don't know if you did or not. But you're the inspiration for us all. So there you go.
He bounces ideas off of me once in a while.
Well, that counts, buddy. You know what? It counts. It counts. But Randy, Randy is our, he is our editor of special projects and curator of snacks. And he came up with this great Star Wars draft, which really inspired Amanda and I, like reignited our love for Star Wars. And we're like, hey, next year, Star Wars A New Hope, 50th anniversary. We also got Starfighter. So every single month, we are watching a new Star Wars property.
Yes.
We did Phantom Menace in June. We're going to be talking about Rebels. We're talking animated series, Disney Plus series, the prequels, the sequels, the original trilogy. It's going to be phenomenal. Go check that out. Of course, we talk football. We talk all the big Marvel stuff, all the big DC stuff, everything you want to know. I'm also the Bill and the Bill versus the MCU podcast. We're going to be doing our closing out our Spider Pod era, talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Then we'll be heading into something special, maybe something that you won't have to shield your eyes from, like the last few films we talked about. And finally, a part of TV Break, which is our monthly TV podcast. Go check all that out. I'm also an author. I'm sorry, not an author. I am also a writer for NJ.com. I got a bunch of stuff over there. Go check it out. It's the state paper of New Jersey. Plenty of stuff over on the Pop Break. My summer of interviews continues. You could go back and see my interviews with Fun Lemon Criminals. We also had an interview with the Black Crows go up. Jack Johnson. Big year for us. Go check out thepopbreak.com. Randy and Kris are both on Pop Break a lot. It has been an honor, a pleasure, a privilege, and a joy to have both of these wildly talented human beings to come on to write, to talk about pop culture, to just bring their knowledge to us and just be fucking rad human beings. Like, I love coming on this podcast because these guys are awesome. They're wicked fucking cool. And they don't mind when I do a shitty New England accent. And it's all good. And I just love being a part of this. It just like really it makes me do my homework, and this is the only time I've ever liked doing homework. So I'm really blessed to have you guys in my life and have you part of the Pop Break. So take it away. You got stuff to talk about.
And likewise, and also I did want to say congrats on that Comic-Con panel. I know that you guys put together something very special, and I can't wait for that information to be out there.
Yes. I mean, it's out there as of this podcast, but I've like trained myself while we're recording this not to talk about that stuff. Right. So, yeah.
Man, folks, I hope you were taking notes. If you weren't, don't worry. It's all going to be in the show notes. We want you to be able to go and find all that really incredible work from Bill. As we said, he is the goddamn paterfamilias of the popbreak.com, and we're all grateful to be in his world. Bill, love you. If you want to hear more from us here at Media Lit, first and foremost, you've got to subscribe to the podcast or follow the podcast. Whatever the button says in the little app where you take in your internet radio shows, hit that button so you can hear more of us. We're dropping episodes at least every 2 weeks, if not more frequently, with some specials nestled in between. You can find us across socials on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram. You'll also find us on YouTube, where we'll be putting up more and more video content. So please, if you've enjoyed this chat, go back and find 2 whole other seasons worth of Media Lit before this fantastic third one that we're living in now. You'll find links to those social medias in the show notes, so you don't have to look very, very far. The website will also be linked there. On the website, you'll find the whole back catalog. You'll find more about Randy and I and all the things that we are up to in the world. We mentioned before that this thing really thrives on homework, on guests like Bill Bodkin. We want you to be part of the process, Podlings at home. So the inbox, as always, is open, and we would love to hear from you. It's media.slash.lit@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts on Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Send us your thoughts on the Odyssey ahead of Nolan's film this summer. Assign us some homework of your own. If you heard this conversation and thought to yourself, man, I wish somebody would talk about the thing that I love like this. It's so fun to hear somebody talk about the thing you love with so much love.
It is, bro.
So assign us some homework and let us give love to your thing.
Kris, you are the ultimate salesperson. You're also an extremely humble man. It's one of the many reasons I love you. Thank you for plugging Media Lit, but there's so much else in your repertoire. Where else can folks find you and the wonderful work that you do?
Thank you, buddy. As Bill mentioned, I'm really grateful to be the co-host of an illustrious popbreak.com podcast known as Batman by the Numbers. This is a once-a-month podcast hosted by Dan Coen. He's been doing this thing for a while, and he was kind enough to invite me into his Batcave as his co-host. And we've had a blast doing it. We did all of Superman in 2025, but in 2026, we are in our era's era, and it's all Dark Knight all the time. A little bit of a lie there, because as this is airing, we'll have just taken a pit stop to celebrate Supergirl in her big film this summer. Look out for a DC female superheroes draft in the feed and a full-on review of Supergirl to come. But then we are back to the Dark Knight, and it'll be the Nolan era come September. So tune in to Batman by the Numbers once a month at thepopbreak.com. I'm also the co-host of Podolay with Randy Elaine and Justin Mancini. I'm just so grateful to have joined these guys to talk music. Justin knows music the way that Randy knows literature. And this time around, we are discussing one of Randy's number one favorite artist of all time, Beck Hansen. And he is bringing the passion like you would not believe. Randy and Justin have been together for a few seasons now, talking about a handful of bands together, and they were kind enough to invite me in as their third chair. So check us out also once a month at thepopbreak.com for Podolay.
Yeah.
Last but not least, I'm also an actor and a voice actor, father and a husband. Catch me doing those things on Instagram and Blue Sky at Kris_Ingersoll, and that's Kris spelled like Kringle.
Voice of Christmas, baby.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of Podolay, as Kris mentioned, you can find me there. And you're so right to call out Justin Mancini as a music expert. But listen closely. You don't have to look too far to hear him talking about poetry. You could put that man in front of an English class tomorrow and he would thrive.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we love you. We love you, Justin. Thank you so much for podcasting with us. Kris gave me a nice little break. You plugged almost all my stuff. So the only other thing I want to mention is right now, as this airs, you can look for me offering week-to-week written coverage of House of the Dragon Season 3 on the Pop Break. I cannot wait to go back to Westeros, especially on the heels of our very intense Game of Thrones draft that we released back in mid-June. So please check me out there. And folks, thank you for joining the Soggy Bottom Boys on our tour of this film from the year 2000, and we will see you next time.